Hello and welcome to What Else is New? I am Kelly Green and this is my show. I am going to share with you some stuff on the screen that I've been using to build the show, and we'll scroll through that and we'll have some open tabs and we'll look at all that stuff. The stuff that I'm showing you will be in order as what's being seen, what you'll see in the show notes in the description, underneath the description of the video. So if you don't want to waste your time here watching this video, that's fine. Just go down to the show notes. Find the stuff that's interesting, click on that stuff, open it up, read it at your leisure, watch it, whatever. Episode 5, we're going to start off with climate change extinctions. From Science, this is December 5th, 2024. Climate change is expected to cause irreversible changes to biodiversity, but predicting those risks remain uncertain. I synthesized 485 studies and more than 5 million projections to produce a quantitative global assessment of climate change extinctions. With increased certainty, this meta-analysis suggests that extinctions will accelerate rapidly if global temperatures exceed 1.5 degrees Celsius, with the highest emission scenarios threatening 1/3 of species globally. I mean, what else is new, right? Climate change is bad. We're in the 6th mass extinction, collapse, doom, and gloom. It's not funny. It's not funny at all. Okay, what else is up? Let's see. Go back to our notes. Drowning in eco-grief. And this relates to a local story out of the University of Calgary newspaper, The Gauntlet. Eco-grief is a deep emotional reaction many people feel due to climate change. It includes distress and anxiety from seeing environmental harm and disasters like wildfires, floods, and extreme weather. This grief can cause feelings of helplessness, anger, or sorrow when familiar landscapes and ecosystems are lost. This is not anything new, probably, to any of you watching here, and certainly not new for myself. It's something we live with every single day. Okay, back to the article. Facing the reality of Alberta's energy policies. Rather than embracing the necessary changes, Premier Danielle Smith seems hell-bent on dragging us deeper into an environmental abyss. Smith's commitment at the recent UCP, United Conservative Party General Meeting, to ramp up fossil fuel investments isn't just another economic misstep, it's a slap in the face to everyone experiencing eco-grief and a blatant disregard for ethic responsibility. I would say, no kidding. And also, what else is new? For those of you that aren't familiar, Alberta is a province in Canada and it is a petrostate. By definition, our main economic engine is the oil and gas industry. We've got the tar sands, a giant blight on the landscape that you can see from space. It's atrocious. We've got thousands and thousands and thousands of abandoned oil and gas wells around the province. It's a seriously bad situation, and we've had governments that conservative right-wing governments that support this industry wholeheartedly and continue to do so, and are even getting farther to the right. They're also really big on carbon dioxide removal, and this is an article from nature.com. Carbon dioxide is an ineffective time machine. Here we go. Now this is from David T. Ho. Yes, he's very active on the Blue Sky and on the socials. It's a little bit older, from April 6, 2023, but the message is relevant still today. Okay, here we go. Humanity has never removed an atmospheric pollutant at a global, continental, or even regional scale. We have only ever shut down the source and let nature do the clearing up. This is the case for chlorofluorocarbons and stratospheric ozone destruction, for sulfur dioxide and acid rain, and for sulfur and nitrogen oxides and photochemical smog. We must be prepared for CDR to be a failure, leaving us to rely on the environment to stabilize atmospheric CO2 over thousands of years. This is another argument for rapid decarbonization. The scale of the challenge is immense. We must slow the carbon clock to a crawl before we can turn it back. No kidding, right? Essentially, carbon removal. It's not good to bank on that as a way to solve our problems. We have to reduce emissions. Period. Full stop. That is how it is. All right. Getting into the activist realm, the eco mindset. The eco mindset with Alex Tyrell interviewing Mr. Breen.
The actions that landed me in this judicial jeopardy were 3 highway blockades for Extinction Rebellion here in Nanaimo, as well as I held up a raw log ship in Nanaimo Harbor by gluing down to a log boom that I swam out to, as well as a airport tarmac occupation, and that that ended up with a separate charge under the Canadian Aeronautics Act. And what am I forgetting? The final action was a Wet'suwet'en solidarity action against the RBC Bank, which is the major funder in the Coastal GasLink pipeline and LNG Canada. So the RCMP chose to bunch all of those together, unlike many other actions that I had done on Vancouver Island, specifically in Victoria, which was some 20 odd arrests, but never.
Well, that's a fairly impressive rap sheet by Mr. Breen out on Vancouver Island in Canada. Hats off to him and to Alex Tyrell for getting him on his show. I invite people to check that out in the description below this video. I've got all the links for all the stuff that I've covered. Please do follow along. Next up, we have From the Ashes with Dana Fisher, and she is being interviewed on Planet Critical with 19.1 thousand subscribers. I invite people to join them. And she is talking about organizing in the post-Trump world down in the United States. So let's give a quick little listen to what she has to say about that.
Here's what's interesting, and there's no question, people will rise up. There already is a whole bunch of folks who are organizing and planning for a bunch of actions that will be taking place around the inauguration. But here's what's interesting is that Trump has made it very clear that he will start to shoot on American citizens and start to jail American citizens, right? But that is exactly the process that we have seen historically that mobilizes the masses. So it is repression that first of all leads to violence, not activism, because like I can tell you, and I actually have lots of data, including data I collected and we closed a survey right at the election, specifically looking at the tactics that people were comfortable with and the positions on political violence. And I can tell you that the folks who are involved in the climate movement are extremely committed to nonviolent civil disobedience. So they are not going to get violent. Nobody is talking about blowing up the pipelines.
Well, that's good. What isn't good, and the reason why I'm smiling, not because of the bad news, I'm not smiling inappropriately necessarily because of that. I don't know if you can hear it, but I hear the snow blowing machines outside. It's winter. That's the hazards. Oh well, let's get back into it. Following Dana Fisher on activism, this is an interesting little piece on the website itsgoingdown.org called Not Liking Someone Doesn't Mean They're a Cop on Bad Jacketing. This is something that I may have been involved in just the past weekend. I was in a Twitter space group and I came across a very unsettling link that made me think that there were members of that group that were tied in with a foreign intelligence agency, and I basically lost my shit. I had to get out of that group. I made a big scene. I mean, I'm fairly convinced that there are people in there doing that, but I don't know. Long story short, I'm not big on groups. I'm a little bit paranoid. They're always getting infiltrated. Who's the cop? And apparently, reading this, it's not good. It's not productive to be pointing people out or to be accusing people of being cops in those spaces. Bad jacketing or cop jacketing, fed jacketing, or snitch jacketing is the practice of accusing people of being a cop, informant, fascist, or other kind of bad actor on specious or non-existent evidence. Well, it's not like I had non-existent evidence. At any rate, security is an issue. Bad jacketing is an issue. Cops in our safe spaces are an issue. Being an activist generally is hazardous work. We got to understand all the different angles around it and the pitfalls and the things that we can do to protect ourselves. So this is one resource from It's Going Down. Give it a read. Expand your mind on the things that we know. Okay, getting into AI a little bit. This is a conversation between Professor Elliot Jacobson and his nephew Ruben over in Switzerland.
So much of these discussions evolve around like, what horrible things will AI do to humans rather than what horrible things will humans do empowered by AI?
Yeah, that's a really interesting way to twist it, that we think of AI as somehow gaining consciousness and being our overlords, but it's really that it's a tool that is going to reshape civilization.
So it's a tool. It could become worse than that, but right now we have to stay focused on what is in reality, and that is definitely a real part of that. I got a couple of clips from them. The second is essentially Elliot Jacobson speaking about the dangers of having too many thought processes being automated. So let's give that a listen.
Knowledge has become spam, right? Knowledge has become so easy and meaningless that there's almost no need now for new knowledge. I mean, we just let the AI create everything for us.
The skill component is one one aspect of it. The other thing that I went about in a roundabout way, but more concretely, is, for me at least, I can't speak for other people, whether it's creative or technical, it means I have to go through an intense process of reflection where I truly engage with the subject matter. If that is other people, if that is nature, that could be.
So not only are we losing slowly the abilities to do these things, the thought processes and the actual physical creative processes, drawing and creating, writing, etc., but we're losing the engagement with the world when we're thinking about, as artists, to create those things. So without that engagement, we suffer a further loss. I don't know if all that makes much sense to you. I encourage you to check out the entire 1 hour piece with Ruben and his uncle, Professor Elliot Jacobson. It's quite telling. Okay, now moving on to Katharine Hayhoe. I just want to highlight her for a moment. She's been very, very active on the Blue Sky, organizing starter packs and bringing groups of people together. She's a very good climate communicator. She will often also not be so hot on the doomers. She blocks a lot of people, so some of you might be turned off by that. Maybe you're blocked by her. She hasn't blocked me, and I'm not yet blocked by Michael Mann on Blue Sky, so I guess I'm behaving myself and not being too doomy and gloomy. This I'm featuring because she's got an excellent email letter out. She's got good news, she's got not so good news, and then she's got inspiration. On the good news, she visits Dickinson. It is a small liberal arts school in Pennsylvania, where she discovers that, among other things, they run an 80-acre organic farm that supplies fresh produce to the school's dining hall. Well, that is really nice news. Every little thing certainly helps, and just because things are going to hell in a handbasket, it doesn't mean that doing those good things aren't having a positive impact, right? A lot of people think that the doomers are just give up and do nothing. No. As a doomer, we're screwed, but I'm not giving up, and I'm certainly going to celebrate people that are doing the good things. I invite people to sign up to that email newsletter of Katharine Hayhoe and get it in your box. Now you can see on the screen here, this next story is going to be fairly familiar to you all. Am I bandwagoning covering this story? I mean, who hasn't covered this story, or how can we not have avoided this story? What I might be is 2 or 3 days too late in covering this or making any mention of it. But we'll just take a quick little look over here from Novara Media. They're a fairly large channel, 857,000 subs, one of which is myself. And we're just going to give a quick listen.
In fact, Thompson's death seems to have unlocked a level of rage around the United States private healthcare model, where insurance companies amass vast profits while around tens of thousands of Americans die each year as a direct result of not being able to afford health insurance. A photographer took pictures of people before and after she told them a health insurance CEO was killed. And so you've got people there on the one side, kind of smiling, people on the other side looking pretty delighted. But this next post showed an unusual breakout of solidarity between users of X. It starts with this tweet. It says, all-time great ratio. They pulled the post down when it got to about 21,000 laughing emojis. And it is, I think, a Facebook post, and it's from United Health Group, saying how sad they are at the killing of their CEO. And at the bottom, you'll see that it had...
That's a lot of laughter for such a tragedy. However, it is understandable. So we're just going to leave it there. Next story I found, it's from Clinical Daily News. Neighborhood disadvantage linked to brain and heart health among older adults from December 7th, 2024. Using the Area Deprivation Index, which measures neighborhood level factors such as housing quality, education, and income, researchers found that living in disadvantaged neighborhoods was linked to higher blood pressure and lower cognitive performance scores among cognitively impaired participants. We're putting that firmly in the what else is new category. I've read numerous studies over the years basically saying the same thing. Socioeconomic status, where you live, are you close to pollution? These are going to affect our health. It's going to affect our brain health, heart health, overall health, life expectancy, economic outlooks, etc., etc. So if you live in a crappy neighborhood, mine isn't that great. If you live in a crappy neighborhood, I'm sorry. Pull up your socks? Do better in life? I don't know. I'm sorry. Okay, back to this. A rising tide of e-waste made worse by AI threatens health, the environment, and the economy. No kidding. Really. The amount of e-waste produced this decade could reach as much as 5 million metric tons, according to recent research published in Nature. This is around 1,000 times more e-waste than was produced in 2023. 1,000 times. So over 10 years, or 1 year. It's basically 100 times increase, like immediately. That's happening because of AI. That's a lot of e-waste. And speaking of e-waste and toxic chemicals in our environment and our health, what do we got here? With Christmas just around the corner, you might notice my lovely lights. With Christmas just around the corner, you may be looking to buy presents for your children, grandchildren, nieces, or nephews. Unfortunately, numerous studies have found many children's products to contain harmful chemicals, such as PFAS, bisphenols, and phthalates. Some of these chemicals are known or suspected endocrine-disrupting chemicals. Endocrine-disrupting chemicals, EDCs, also known as hormone disruptors, can interfere with the body's sensitive hormone system. Exposure to EDCs has been linked to various health issues, such as certain hormonal cancers, reproductive problems, and obesity. Children are more susceptible to adverse health effects from these chemicals, partly because they are still developing. What can I say? We know that it's there. Try and avoid the crap. Right? It's in the wrapping paper. You can smell it. Like, it's just everywhere. Try and avoid the garbage and try and keep the world and your family healthy if you can. Okay, now we're getting down to the nitty gritty. Got 3 items left. The last item I want to share with you is from Environmental Coffee House, Sandy Shells. Pardon me, Sandy, if I'm pronouncing your last name incorrect. This is from an interview she's done recently with Andrea P., where Andrea remarks how it's easy to not be aware these days. We're all getting our information in different siloed places. I watched a piece yesterday from the Tyee, a Canadian news publication, and the editor there was talking about the death of journalism and how right now we don't have that common ground. We don't have the common foundation of facts that we can then disagree on and have debates about and have ideological differences on how to deal with certain things. We've got completely different facts for completely different groups of people, and it's happening, and it's just splintering. It's bloody crazy. So the stuff that I'm seeing through my feeds, you're not seeing this stuff. You got a totally different set of algorithms feeding you a totally different set of stuff. So it's very hard. I'm struggling to try and keep fresh stuff, try and find different sources of material in a lame attempt to try and outsmart the artificial intelligence and try and get a balanced diet or somewhat balanced diet of material.
Well, I think that it's so easy to not be aware if you don't want to be. There's a lot of people out there who listen to other things on their podcasts and follow other stuff. And if you want to be oblivious, I think it is still in today's world very possible to be.
Oh, sure. I was thinking about that today. How I so wish I could be a clueless moron. How sometimes I want to just be oblivious. I want to turn on the TV and watch QVC. I want to not know what's going on. I sometimes think it would be better for my health if I was just an idiot. But that's not possible. Not for me, not for you, and not for anybody in our chat.
That is true. You can't unlearn this stuff, unfortunately. And who watching this has not felt that way? Like, man, I wish I didn't know this stuff. Now you have to make a decision. You know this stuff. You have to either take an action or you have to make a conscious decision to pretend that it's not happening. And trust me, that is not good for your mental health. So I applaud Sandy for bringing that out and for making that admission on her own that she too sometimes wishes that she didn't know what she knew. However, we're super grateful. I'm grateful. I'm sure Andrea is grateful. And many, many, many of the followers of Sandy's, a little over 4,000 subscribers on her channel. But I know that many of them, if not all, are very thankful that she has not turned a blind eye and that she is aware of these things, because now she's been able to do a lot of really excellent work with her YouTube channel, bring a lot of awareness and a lot of support to people in the environmental and collapse aware doomer circles. Okay, getting down to it. Now, there's, as you know, there's kind of some hard divisions. So if you're a hopeful optimist or an apocalyptimist or whatever it is, sometimes you don't want to hang out with the doomers or really give them much space, because it's just like, you know what, it doesn't matter what we do. You could have all the electric cars you want or eat all the veggie burgers you want. It's not going to materially have any difference on the outcome of our situation, which I agree with. However, I also pay homage to those who are helpful and are still trying to make a difference, because what else are we going to do? We have to keep trying. We have to keep fighting somehow.
It's easy to feel despair and helpless and say, I give up. It's too late. This sucks. And there isn't anything fossil fuel executives would like better than for all of us to give up. But hope. Hope is hard. Hope in the face of overwhelming odds is almost impossible. But that is what superheroes do. They keep going. Keep doing the right thing to defeat the bad guys, even when everyone around them is panicking. The clock is ticking. We only have 6 years left. Please don't despair. Every 10th of a degree we save means millions of kids' lives.
That is worth fighting for. Don't despair, don't despair. Now that reminds me of this book. My handy dandy trusty copy, Warriors of the Rainbow. When I became a collapse aware and became a little bit of a doomer, there wasn't communities. The internet didn't even exist. There wasn't communities of collapse aware people to lean on and learn from and do all these things. And I was suffering a lot of despair silently. I was able to talk in confidence with the author of this book one day. We'd met up for a beer, and he was 30 years my senior. I was just young at the time. What I bring to you from this is the quote, "Don't despair. The worst is yet to come." So it's good to hear that message is still resonating, young and old. That yes, there's a lot to despair about, but please don't do it. The worst is yet to come. There's work to do now. Okay. Oh, we're down at the end. This is a song from a friend of mine, David Rovics, folk singer out of the United States, folk singer extraordinaire, very prolific, very talented. I love this guy. He's just so excellent. So if you get a chance, visit his patreon.com, David Rovics. Here he is here, David Rovics. Look him up. Follow the link. And we're going to let this song just carry us out to the end. So, on that note,
the company got big and began to grow till it ran the show. Hundreds of billions of dollars a year made by all the suits who steer towards maximizing profits till they were the biggest on the planet by buying up all competition, by buying off all the politicians, by delaying what they then deny, by defending their actions as they watch us die. Well, you know, there are so many ways to kill a CEO. Make sure the ACA wouldn't get in the way of profiting from our basic needs, making sure we feed their corporate greed. They got bigger and bigger until even the DOJ said they should chill on trying to monopolize everything just for more ka-ching, ka-ching, by delaying what they then deny, by defending their actions as they watch us die. Well, you know, there are so many ways to kill a CEO. How many lives have been lost so they could keep down the cost of running a business on our backs while raking in the stacks and stacks of profits that they stole from us while we're trying to live here under the bus? This kind of thing can't go on forever. You don't have to be so clever. By delaying what they then deny, by defending their actions as they watch us die. Well, you know, there are so many ways to kill a CEO. The company got big and began to grow till it ran the show.